And welcome to the show. Tough times never last, but tough people do. It's a brand new season, and thank you very much for watching. Remember, tough times never last, but tough people do. Thank you very much for coming up on the street and saying g'day. Isn't it amazing how many people are going through tough issues, whether it's death in the family, depression, alcohol or drug problems? God bless you, and I hope you get through them. On tonight's show, a very, very interesting fella. He was one of the tough blokes in the Victoria Police Force, more than 20 years of policing. Beanie, thanks for coming on.
Pleasure, Mick.
Good on you, mate.
Nice to be here.
Good on you. I've known this man for many years, but he's got some interesting stories to share. Tell us, Beanie, we'll go right from the start. What made you join the police force?
Well, my initial, I came from a police family, Mick. My sister married a detective from the armed robbery squad, and my brother was ended up in the homicide squad for many years. And my initial attraction was to the water police, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I never made it though. As you well know, I ended up at St Kilda with your good self, and
Yes.
got bitten by the street.
Interesting, and it's certainly been a tough journey. And folks, it doesn't matter what you do for a job. Beanie, you know, one of the most confident people you could get, but he went through his tough issues, and I mean, initially the first 2 years, it's a lot of fun, isn't it? You get that badge, you get the uniform, you get half-price McDonald's, and you know, you did walkthroughs at nightclubs, which you never did. But after a while, it gets to you, doesn't it?
Well, there were no McDonald's when I joined the police force, Mick. 86, 87, but I went to Richmond as a training station.
Yes.
In those days, you did your junior phase of 6 months and your senior phase there. And Richmond was a violent town.
Yeah.
You had all the Penningills and Kath and Victor Pearce and all the other guys there.
Yeah, yeah.
Ended up in the Wall Street shootings. And you didn't walk into a pub with yourself and your partner. You normally went in with 6 others. So it was, you're always throwing punches down there. It was a very busy town.
Now I remember being Wall Street. That was a very sad thing. I was working night shift. You were probably working the morning shift or something. That was a sad couple of months, wasn't it?
I was on a day off that day. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
When the boys were shot dead, but very sad. And as you well know, we were both at St Kilda when that happened, and that was our brother station.
Yeah.
Paran, and
Yeah.
we both knew those two guys. So
That's right. And it could have happened to anybody, couldn't it?
Could have been anybody.
And then after that, a whole series of investigations, and doors got kicked down, and
It was a busy time, and I think my memories of it were, even though we were young constables at St Kilda, it impacted us working the street down there.
yeah,
As you well know, our customers back in those days were criminals. Not sure about these days, but and they used to congregate in Fitzroy Street nominally after release from prison.
yeah.
And so it affected us in a big way, as you well know.
But viewers, what I always remember about Beanie, always a very nice, respectful man towards everybody, very non-judgmental, and always treated everybody with respect. Even if he locked him up, he was a good crime fighter, better than myself. I used to be a bit of a social butterfly sometimes, but Beanie used to get the big-time crooks, and but he was very fair. He was very fair. You were a good crime fighter, and as a result of that, of course, you went to the armed robbery squad and went to become a detective, and you worked at the academy as a drill instructor, but
Law instructor.
a law instructor.
Not a drill instructor.
Not a drill instructor.
No.
No. Beanie, what happened in South Road? What year was that? I mean, that was a very, very sad situation.
Are you talking about the Silk Miller murders?
Silk Miller murders, yeah, okay. Because Silky I spent a lot of time with. He helped me along the way when I went through some tough issues, but you were involved in that investigation.
After St Kilda, Mick, I went to the CIB at Brunswick for 5 years, and had a lot to do with the armed robbery squad then, and I decided when I was at St Kilda, really, that I wanted to go there. And my heart said that I needed to go there. I went and did my apprenticeship at Brunswick CIB, which was a busy period, and then went to the armed robbery squad. After 2 years at the armed robbery squad, my crew, Joe and Mark and I, became involved in what we called Operation Hamada, which has been portrayed on the latest Underbelly series now.
Yes.
Where 2 offenders were running around doing armed robberies on fast food restaurants, Chinese restaurants and things of that nature. And they did 12 of those, and then on the 13th, or I'm pretty sure it was the 13th, or it might have been the 12th, is where Gary and Rob were shot dead in the stakeout.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line. And how did you get involved? Were you responsible for catching the crooks? And
because we had no evidence whatsoever, there was no witnesses, etc., etc. It was only an assumption that it was the two armed robbers that had perhaps murdered the boys. We had virtually had no evidence of ballistic evidence that the rounds were obliterated in their bodies. No witnesses, and forensic evidence was a little bit of glass on the roadway. And
that was such a stressful time, God bless you. You know, putting away the tough man Beanie. What a stressful time, because you knew these boys.
I didn't know Rod. I hadn't met Rod at all. I knew Gary very well over the years, as yourself did. I had a mutual friend who's a civilian. They went to school together.
Yeah.
And had many his own cokes with Gary over the years, and I had the utmost respect for him.
Yeah.
I wasn't there the night they were murdered, but our crew became involved in the investigation on the Monday. They were murdered on the Saturday night because of the possible armed robbery involvement. And we weren't sure if it was armed robbers or Nick Radev, bless his soul, or other criminals. And so because of that question mark, they decided to have the crew from the armed robbery squad on the task force.
Yes, and certainly how long was the investigation for until the people got caught?
Well, they were murdered on the 16th of August 1998, and we made our arrests on the 25th of July 2000.
Yeah.
And it's a day I won't forget.
No.
No. It was a very hard inquiry. We had no idea. We had thousands and thousands of leads to chase down. We locked up a lot of offenders.
Yes.
And we cleaned the state up and filled the prisons up.
Yes.
However, we didn't have our men until much later, and it was through a telephone link that I discovered much later in the inquiry that linked us back to who we now know as Debs and Roberts.
And what a wonderful job, viewers. You know, a lot of people are out there scared of, everyone's worried about something, about the opinions of other people, about paying their bills, about, you know, what other people think of them, even public speaking. But, you know, we need tough blokes like this in the job because, I mean, you know, going through doors and catching armed robbers, you almost have become fearless, don't you? Because you could get gunned down any time.
Look, Mick, there's been probably 3 or 4 stories that I could tell, but I won't do that here tonight.
We might talk about your journey after the next break.
Sure. But
I want to hear how it changed you and the journey and some of the lessons. But thanks for coming on. We'll be back very shortly on Tough Times Never Last with Beanie. Don't go away.